Hello, historians. Welcome back to our curriculum lesson. We've got a history lesson today. Can you remember who we've been talking about in history? That's right, the Cadbury brothers and chocolate. The resources you're going to need today are your thoughts, some paper, and a pencil. Today, you're going to discuss and explore the influence of the Cadburys brothers. And don't forget, when we're looking at things on the internet, you need to make sure a grown-up knows and make sure you're safe. The story of the two brothers and a chocolate factory is in a separate video on the system by this video. You'll need to listen to that. You might want to take some notes about the influences of the Cadburys brothers. Pause the video here and go and watch the story. Okay, so in that story there was some new vocabulary for you. Let's have a look at it together. I've tried to think of the words that you might not know the meaning of. You might have used a dictionary to help you. And if you've got a dictionary at home, you could look the words up when you're reading and you don't understand them. You might have Googled the meaning of the words. Let's have a look at which words they were I thought you might get stuck with. Quakers. My turn. Quakers. Your turn. Van Houten Press. Your turn. Manufacturing. Your turn. Persuasion. Your turn. Condemned. Your turn. If you have got a dictionary at home or have access to the internet, I'd like you to pause the video here and go and have a look what those words mean. 4 of them will be in the dictionary. 1 of them won't. So we're going to have a look at the influence of the Cadburys brothers. What were they like? Pause the video, have a little think back to the video you watched about the Cadburys brothers. What were they like? Let's see if you've got any words the same as me. They were happy. Yeah, I think they were happy, and they're smiling in these pictures, aren't they? Fair. They liked to treat everybody the same, didn't they? They'd had a lovely childhood in a lovely garden, being able to run all the time, had clean clothes, had food on their tables, and they wanted everybody else to have that. They were grateful. They were really grateful for what they'd had, and they believed everybody should have it, didn't they? They were concerned. They were concerned. They were concerned about the way people were treated, the way they lived, the way they were treated at work. Was it fair? They were concerned about their living conditions and their health. They were thoughtful. They were very thoughtful. They wanted to help people. They wanted to help the people they were concerned for. They were thoughtful in their working environment and their home environment. They were very kind. They tried to give back, didn't they? So what they got, if they could do it, they would give it back. So the one brother stopped drinking extra drinks and things, didn't he? So that he could be kind and have more money to keep the business going, because they were very concerned about the business, weren't they? Because they knew the business was what fed people, because not because they all ate chocolate, but because it meant they earned a wage. And by earning a wage meant these people could have a standard of living, and they could live and have food and a roof above their head. George in particular was ambitious, wasn't he? George was the ambitious one. He wanted it all to happen. He didn't want the business to fail. He wanted to make sure they invested all the money they had got into the business. He was aspirational. We've used that word before. Aspirational, when you want to be the best you can be of what you want to be. One day he wanted to be the best at what he was doing. And he was, wasn't he? Because he wanted the Cadbury factory to offer not only chocolate and to sell chocolate to people, he wanted it to be the best chocolate. So they went and fetched the Van Houten press. He wanted to make sure that the people that worked for him had the best opportunities in life. So he was aspirational. He was frugal. Now that might be a new word for you. Pause the video. Talk to somebody. What does frugal mean? Yes, it means they're very careful with their money, aren't they? Remember, he wanted to be really careful with his money, and he didn't spend it on frivolous things because he wanted to save the business. They used their mum's savings, and he stopped spending money on things he didn't need to spend it on. So he was being frugal. My turn. Frugal. Your turn. Well done. What about Richard? What was particular to Richard? He was creative, wasn't he? Yeah, he liked his painting. He was very creative. He designed the wrappers for the chocolates, didn't he? And we'll look at designing wrappers later on in the term. But he was very creative. He was creative with his ideas of how to make the chocolate and how to make sure that the people that worked for them were looked after. Okay, so we're going to discuss and explore the influence of the Cadburys brothers. Let's look at the improved working conditions that they had influence upon. Pause the video while you have a think about what did they improve. They increased girls' pay, didn't they? Because girls hardly got paid anything compared to the men. And it says girls because people began working as young as 11 and 12 back in those days. I know, you'll still be at school when you're 11 or 12, won't you? But they had to go to work and bring the pennies home, and it literally was pennies. And those girls had to work very hard for a lot less money than the boys or the men or the women. They gave the workers more holiday. The workers had very little holiday when they took over the running of the chocolate factory. There was very little time allowed off, and if they did have any time off, they didn't get paid for it. So they started to introduce a scheme whereby you could have a little bit of time off and it would be classed as holiday, but you'd still earn some money for it. So that meant they had rest days. The Cadbury brothers never worked on Sundays, but they still wanted to put Sundays to good use, so they taught men and boys to read and write. Do you notice, girls, they only taught the men and boys? That's because women and females were seen as lesser than men and boys, and on a Sunday, women and females would be busy cooking and cleaning for the men. They also encouraged teamwork. That's something we encourage in school, isn't it? Because if you all work together, you'll always get a better outcome. And we always say that, don't we? How about improving living conditions? What were the improved living conditions that happened due to the influence of the Cadburys brothers? Pause the video and have a little think about it. Go and rewatch some of the video if you need to. Yeah, they provided sports pitches, didn't they? So the men could have football matches or they could all go running. A gymnasium. A gymnasium was something really new in that era. It was something that people weren't used to and it felt luxurious for them. A swimming pool. Imagine having a swimming pool to go in after you finish work, hot and sweaty days, all sticky from all that chocolate. That would be something really, really special. They would feel privileged having a swimming pool. And were you surprised to read that they provided a doctor? All of us have doctors now, don't we? We can pick that phone up and make a doctor's appointment, maybe not for today, but for tomorrow or the next day. Or if we have an emergency, we can phone 999 or 111 and we will get to see a doctor or somebody to treat us. But it wasn't like that then. Then, if you were poorly, you just had to get on with it and hope that the granny would be able to fix you. But they provided a doctor because they wanted their employees to have the same treatment as they had had. Because being rich and wealthy, they'd been able to afford to have doctors in their lives. They improved the living conditions by providing new houses. They created a whole new village, the village of Bourneville. And how about the influence they had over the machinery and techniques and the working environment? Pause the video, have a little think back to the story of the Cadburys brothers. And what did they do to be influential in these areas? They built a new factory, didn't they? Did you remember that one? That was one of the hugest influences because being in a clean and new environment and also having the latest equipment, because they would put new equipment in there, meant they would produce the best chocolate. But also their workers were really happy. It's like when we go to school, we've got a school building that's not very old, so it's much more comfortable to work in, like their new factory would be. We had the latest equipment when the school was built, like their factory would have had. Can you remember the name of the machine that they had? That's right, the Van Houten press, which they searched high and low for and went and bought and brought that back because they knew it would provide them the best chocolate quality that you could get. And that's what they wanted to produce. So with a new factory and the best machinery, they would produce the best chocolate alongside the happiest employees. Right then, it's your turn now. You're going to need your thoughts. You're going to need some paper and a pencil. So it's your turn now to do some work. I want you to produce a character profile. So you are going to show me what you know about the Cadbury brothers. So you can choose to do George or Richard. It's entirely up to you. I would like you to write a title on the top of your piece of paper, Cadbury brothers character profile, and write the character's name. But I'd like your name as well, because otherwise I won't know whose work it is. And then you're going to write me a list of words that describes their appearance. What does Richard look like here? He looks very smart, doesn't he? He looks very happy. And he also looks very clean, because they had a bathroom because they were very rich and wealthy, so they were able to wash regularly. Does he look clever? I think he looks clever. What about his personality? What words would you use to describe his personality? Well, if you go back in the video, we discussed this and we wrote a list. So if you can't remember, rewind the video and you can write it in then. What influences did he have over working conditions? Remember, we wrote a list about that as well. So see which ones you can remember. And then look at living conditions and at the working environment, machinery and techniques. See which ones you can remember first, and then rewind the video and check your work and add any that you missed out. And don't forget to pop your name on. So are you going to write Richard or George? Which one are you going to do? Don't forget to share your work. I look forward to seeing a photo of it, or I look forward to seeing it posted through the letterbox at school. When we get back to school, I'll be able to use the work that comes in our display in the classroom, because we've still got to make a display about our topic of chocolate, haven't we? And our topic of significant people. And our two significant people are very significant in the world of chocolate. Enjoy writing up your profile about one of the Cadburys brothers. You only need to do one, but if you'd like to do two, then you may do so. It's the sort of work that you could win a working wonder for. Maybe you will receive the golden balloon. What do you think? It would be good to have a go, wouldn't it? I'll speak to you soon. Bye.